Hi, friends.
Hello.
Oh, I was going to say, every time we do this, I want to say, this is a big one. This is something we have a lot to say about.
And I want to say, I'm going to interrupt you, that we're on a rocking chair.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just want to warn you in case you have any kind of motion stuff.
that could be really annoying. Or maybe very
Soothing.
soothing,
Yeah. Anyway, we are
pleasing.
moving.
Yeah.
So this is a big one. I'm helping you remember the thought I interrupted you on.
Yeah, I'm just saying that because this morning when we started kind of talking back and forth about it, I realized it could go on and on. But that's probably with any of these subjects because they're all so multi-layered.
Yeah.
There's that superficial kind of understanding, and then it's like being in the moment. And I feel like I understood that 20 years ago. And
Yeah.
then my 19 years ago, like, wow, I didn't understand that 20 years ago, but I really understand it now than 18 years ago. And on, all
Yeah.
these new
Yeah.
layers
Oh, for sure. Oh,
of
gosh.
exploration
Which
and
is
adventure.
which is good actually because it means that you are oriented on growth and curiosity and uh, explanation.
Explanation.
Exploration.
Oh, exploration. Thought you were going to say explanication.
No, you're so funny. So, what are we even talking about?
We're talking about love. How
Love.
many years have we been together now?
Honestly, I don't remember 32, 33,
Something like
something like
that. Yeah.
that, somewhere in the beginning of the 30s.
And I'm going to say this very directly. I'm totally in love with this woman. Head over heels in love with this woman.
Hopefully people can tell when
Probably.
we talk to each other. Yeah.
Probably. But that's not the story for all couples. A lot of times, and even in our relationship, there have been times when you sort of can get used to each other, take each other for granted,
Yeah.
not pay attention to that love.
I think isn't that the story with life? I mean, it just depends. I think we all have a threshold of this is really novel, this is fun and new and interesting. I want to know everything there is. I want to see you all the time, or I want to learn more about this. And um, then it kind of, we start to learn a lot more. And then, boom, do we go down to the other side? And suddenly, yeah,
It
I
does.
know everything there is to know about you. We've had all the experiences there are to have, which of course isn't really true, but it can feel that way.
I was going to use the example of ice cream, but perhaps more fitting, the example of the woods.
Oh,
When a
yeah.
little child goes through the woods, it's filled with all kinds of wonders and amazing things. But then after a while, we can start to just walk the same paths, lost mostly in our own thoughts. We will not even pay
Yes,
attention
yes.
to all the wonders of the forest.
So, love.
Love.
Yeah. You're talking about being present where we are and being in love with the world. And in that way, we're kind of really hearkening deeply into kind of loving Divine Mother and all the things that she's manifesting. And why do we do this? What's the point?
Because this is a path of bhakti. And in that bhaktiness, we're falling in love with the world, seeing the world as a thousand different forms. Thousand. That's the old fashioned talk. A thousand. Still a tiny number. A thousand forms of Divine Mother. And when we're in love with the world, all these things happen. First of all, it just feels good. It gives us a great feeling of living and playfulness and interaction and connection with life. But it also takes us out of our ego. Because love, when we're in a state of love, we're not thinking of ourselves. It's a place where ego can slip away a little bit and we can start to find ourselves feeling maybe our not just connection with the world, with Divine Mother, but our integration, our oneness, our wholeness with everything that is. And that's, I think, where the real power of love lies, is slipping us out of this sense of
Mm.
self, me. I've got to be watching out for me, thinking about me, paying attention to all my thoughts and anxieties and worries that are just churning through my head. Those all come out of a sense of me-ness that I have to
Mm.
keep secure and happy and
It's so funny. I woke up
protected.
a couple mornings with ago with this thought in my head. Our culture is so focused on independence, we forget about interdependence.
Wow.
And I think that that's kind of what you're saying there in a nutshell is our independence is so important sometimes and culturally conditioned into us that we forget that really we actually all need each other and we all function because of all of the quote separate parts. It's sort of that multiplicity of mutual arising that we can forget very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel really good. I guess, guys, that's why I come back to. I like to choose and focus and put my effort into love because it feels good. In the end, why do we do stuff anyway? Because some aspect of it somehow makes us feel good for some amount of time. And focusing on the love, it's nice because it isn't necessarily requiring me to be 100% happy or 100% stable or, you know, always my best self. It's a practice that I can have at all times and grow and deepen no matter where I am.
And I think when we say it makes us feel good,
Mm-hmm.
we mean something a little bit different than the way a glass of wine might make us feel good.
Mm.
We mean, what is the word that really, I want to say nurturing, but what I'm saying for is not, wholesome. Wholesome.
Wholesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good that feels wholesome
Yeah.
because out of it come these feelings of things like compassion and caring and just all the things that you think of when you think of loving the world around you or the people around you. Again, we kind of get out of, okay, what's going to be best for me,
Mm-hmm.
and we start saying, how can I engage most fully
Yeah,
with the people and things around us?
I would even go so far as to say experiences, because for me that's a big place that I resist.
Oh yeah.
And I can not love an experience. I can detest an experience. And I'm not trying to say that we have to. This is tricky because a lot of times when you start talking about this, then people or your mind are quick to jump in and go, well, then are you just gonna do the opposite and you're just gonna accept all of the whatever, that kind of scoffy voice that's like, oh, please, whatever. And that's not really what I'm talking about. But I'm saying if I can have an experience, okay, I'm stuck in traffic. I really wanted to be home by now. If I can even just apply the curiosity of, well, what might there be to love about this experience? Or let's take be grateful for, or even just, what could I learn from this experience? We suddenly go from a very constricted and tense, as you say, what about me? What's in it for me? To this kind of expansive, okay, well, maybe there is something in this that is more than I can see. And what if I just get curious about it?
Mm. Love. Like we're sitting here, I'm hearing all these birds talking to us, and there's the cool of the day, and there's your voice. There's all these things that would be very easy for me not to be engaged with. And I'm going to say something here that makes it sound like love is work.
Okay.
But I think if we remember to come back to it, we're going to see that love is not work in the usual sense. But we can be in a relationship for 30 years and basically just be kind of just, living in the same house as somebody,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, morphing our schedules to each other, but not really super engaged and certainly maybe not head over heels in love. It's the same thing with the chickadees. The chickadees are out here every day. They could be just the same old chickadees. But there's something unbelievable and incredible in their sound. but it requires us to be engaged.
Mm.
I always think of us as having a certain amount of mental energy in any given space of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think of the next hour, and granted, this will be more difficult if your next hour you're at work or you're at college or something. But if you're retired, if you're living on disability, if you're on summer vacation, if you just got home from work, if it's the weekend, this next hour, what will I use my mental energy for?
Mm.
And the default, especially as we get older and kind of lose that initial sense of wonder because everything is novel,
Mm-hmm.
is to be in our default state of mind, our ruminating mind.
Sort of autopilot that we talk about,
Yeah,
not really aware that we get to choose.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the dishes, but I'm thinking about my worries or concerns or taxes are due or whatever it
What you
is.
heard on the news and what's the world coming to and all the
Yeah.
things people have always thought about for ages and ages.
So those same old sensations, that experience, which is actually mind-blowingly incredible, of the water growing over our hands and the
Mm-hmm.
sheen of light on the dish, and all those things are missed because we're just telling our story over and over in our head.
It's funny that our worry or our rumination or whatever never becomes unnovel to us. Why doesn't that become something like, oh, I do that all the time. Why don't I try something different?
This should be, we talk about this in Becoming Dungeon Master, this should be a clue that something's up here. Something's a little fishy.
Yeah.
Maya, the game, whatever we want to call it, it gives us this rumination of mind, which really should be boring. Because if you could tune into anybody's, if you want to tune into my rumination for a day, you'd be really bored. It'd just be the same stuff over and over, running through the
Yeah,
mill.
you thought about that about 10 minutes ago.
Do I have to watch this again?
You thought about this morning.
Yeah.
You thought about
That this is interesting and novel to our minds is a clue that there's a game being played here.
yeah.
That there's some humor involved. Like, let's make this manifestation of me, this human, to hide from myself. Let's make it interested in something that is completely inane and boring.
Yeah.
Because then it gives us a chance. If we were interested in something that was novel all the time and incredible, that would clue us in the same way as what you're saying right now.
Mm.
Oh yeah, okay. Why am I so interested in something that's so boring? So there it is. There's our clue. There's that rumination.
So we're saying that's usually a default
That's
if
a
we're not
default.
aware. So could we take an hour at some point and pay attention to when that ruminating mind comes up and instead see if we could focus on love? Of course,
Yes.
love, how do we do that? That requires us to be paying attention. And it requires us to notice when we slip into that same habit loop of worry or rumination or autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to pay attention to that. And then, I don't know, I like gratitude because just looking around and thinking, wow, first of all, I'm grateful I can look around. I've got eyes and they work. That's, there's so many things to be grateful for, but it really works well if it's something you're actually really grateful for. And again, that's a practice that you can strengthen over time. I also really love curiosity.
Oh, curiosity. Yeah. I feel like that's one of the cornerstones of all our Rewild You stuff. We talk about it in so many videos. Curiosity. Go. Roll on that.
Oh,
Tell us about why it's so awesome.
Well, because curiosity gets us to, and I'm talking about the curiosity that is wonder filled, the curiosity about life and something maybe, you feel it when someone starts to tell you something incredible that you just can't even believe is true. And it's the wonder that you experienced when you were a child. And so I think it draws us out of that ruminating mind. And that's partially what's really joyful about it, is it is internally rewarding. just to ask questions, to be wondering, to look at things. I'm doing this. We have to go out. We become more connected to that interdependence, to Divine Mother in her various ways that she's playing. And we kind of are almost in the conspiracy then of the, oh, I get it. Oh, that's so, funny that. And I guess I just think that by of its own nature, curiosity is delightful. It's training the brain to seek novel in everyday experiences.
Yes. And that's why it's not work, love. I mean, I could explain part of why I am able to stay in love with you in the way that I do, because I pay attention to your eyes, how blue they are.
Mm.
And sometimes when you're talking, I hate to admit this, but I won't even be listening to your words so much as just hear your voice and just soak in and enjoy your voice, or your laughter. TMI. You get up in the morning, and I admire your form.
Okay,
and
that's not too bad.
there's all these things that I purposely give my attention to, and this can seem like work, but if we start to see that with those things like curiosity, we are engaged in a way that feels good and that draws us in. Right? It's different than, okay, now I must
right.
do this thing that isn't really that enjoyable.
Right. I have got to go love that person. What does that even mean? Right?
We're asking to do enjoyable
or the
things.
Experience. Yeah, that's where gratitude is a great place to start. And then curiosity. That's the big one.
Yeah.
Just going, I wonder, if it's loving another person. No, just, I mean, how much do you even know about somebody's day or what they've been thinking? So you and I spend a lot of time together, but the majority of us don't get to spend that much time with our partner or our siblings or our parents or our children or our friends. There's a million things you could ask them about. Just start asking questions or start watching them and pretend that you're studying a chickadee and going, because, it's kind of fun when you start watching something, wondering. We have a whole bunch of juncos out here too. How do you even tell juncos apart?
Boy and girl, you mean?
Just
if
that
one
junco is the one that I've been watching and it's the same
Yeah.
one or not. And just starting to get outside of our own thoughts makes things more interesting. And then the magic is, especially if it's with people or creatures in general, they feel that and they reach back toward you. And there's something really wonderful about that. I mean, how great does it feel to, let's say you meet someone and you start chatting and then they start asking you about yourself. It feels really fun, especially when they're interested and they're like, oh, that's fascinating. Tell me more about that. How did you get into that? So did you start this when you were younger? And you're like, wow, who is this person who cares about me? And so I just feel like when we do that with other people and creatures and experiences, they reciprocate.
Yes.
And I don't know, it's kind of just a magical thing. It's hard to really explain or break down.
It's one of the secrets to the Maya, to the game, is that when we engage with something, it engages back. And that can work against us a little bit if we are engaging with some things. But if we're engaging with a person we love, if we're engaging with nature, if we're engaging with our children, there's an engagement back that happens that blossoms that out and makes it more and more wondrous and deeper and more exciting and worthy of our curiosity and our exploration.
Yeah. I think it's important to note that there's a different feeling. We can engage with someone, and the way that we're talking about is that open way, because there are ways we can engage with someone and it can start to become, what am I waving at? The birds?
Yeah.
It can start to become, I might ask a question and then they might reply and it might hit a trigger point for me, where then I'm suddenly lost back into the, well, how come you always do that? Or, and that's not actual wonder or curiosity. That's way back into the too much energy, too much effort, because we're back into that little me that's closed. So we're talking about the wonder of, okay, well, let's keep going with that. They've said that. I'm noticing that, I kind of disagree with that. And instead of the autopilot default, how about ask some questions? How about, hey, how did you come to that?
Engage.
How did you come to that, belief? I am super curious because it doesn't resonate with me, but I love you and I'd really like to understand you, and maybe you could actually learn something, you know. So important to understand. And I think if you can't, if you're not successful, then give yourself find a different time. So for that practice, at least, because you want to set yourself up for success.
Yeah. So this is a practice that it our practical life adds so much to it. You can just take a romantic relationship. You can fall in love with that person more and more every day, year after year, decade after decade. And how different that feels. Because your relationships are often either the biggest energy drain in your life or the biggest energy add to your life. And if you're engaged, they tend to become that add. So it just changes your everyday experience
It
of
bleeds into
living.
everything because
Oh,
not
this is
only are you
nice.
falling in love with your partner or your children, or you're falling in love with life. You suddenly see, wait, there's so much more to learn. There's so much more to connect with. It's really actually endless. I can do this to the very day I die, and be so excited and still want to just love life and be so grateful that I have gotten to, really be in it.
And then it also calls us on our spiritual path. It brings us to new places because we start engaging with some of those everyday things that are so easy to forget about and ignore. And within those everyday things, within that speck of sand, within that act of doing the dishes, that's the big secret right there.
Well, and as we strengthen the ability to be curious and to be loving and to be grateful, I think we also empower ourselves to challenge ourselves to say, okay, hey, that was super easy with, my best friend. That love them to pieces. But, what about my coworker that I struggle with? Hey, could I actually just be curious for a second and be, you know,
Yeah.
just be open. The openness is the beginningness. The curiosity is the start of a deeper dance. And yeah, I think practicing that really then preps us to go deeper, because I know for me, anything that I really resist or dislike, anytime I'm frustrated or I am tense and contracted against something, it it doesn't feel right in me. It's very challenging. And so having a way to say, look, I can learn and grow from this experience, or hey, here's this person I can, come perhaps to love them. And that's the hardest practice of all, I think, is trying to extend that to probably especially
Someone
people.
who's, yeah, or an experience that you've
Oh,
had.
yeah, yeah. So again, there's just so much beauty to it. Hi,
Hey,
buddy.
bud.
Hi. How are you? How are you?
Boy.
We're almost done.
Yeah.
I think you want lunch.
So, for those of us that are dipping our toes into these waters, we can look when we have a free hour and we can say, what are we going to spend it on? Am I going to surf the web? Am I going to clean the house? Am I going to? There's 1,000 choices that are open to us. But whatever we do, what if we make a choice to do something that feels really engaged?
Mm.
And if we're really deep on our spiritual path, then we might even say, oh, some of these things that feel inevitable, like I have to be doing them, are those things I have to be doing, or are they choices?
Mm. Yeah.
And sometimes we can look at our life and say, no, some of these things that I feel like I have to be doing, maybe maintain my current lifestyle, maybe I'd be happy with a simpler lifestyle, or maybe there are other shifts or changes I could make that would open up more of those hours to me being engaged. And ultimately, we hope that we can be engaged no matter what
Yeah.
we're doing.
Yeah, we get to have that choice of the perspective that we bring to what we're experiencing. And I think that's what it's all about, is that in the end it would be lovely to bring curiosity, gratitude, wonder, and especially love to this life.
Share
Yeah.
with us.
This is a great, big, huge, and amazing topic. And your insights are always just so juicy. They're so good. There's such good thoughts about this. And I love reading what you guys have to share. So thank you for the sharing.
All right.
Okay. Speaking of love, we love being able to share this with you, and we are grateful that you are on this journey with us. So,
Check out our website, divinemother.love, and our Patreon. It's free to get more involved.
mwah.